Good evening. Mary comes out with her cup of coffee. She insisted, so we're just going to relax and have a good time, I hope, right?
Hell yeah.
I need caffeine to deal with him. He's my service project.
Here we say we're going to pass a good time.
We're going to have a great time. Now, of course, so many of you may be wondering, those of you who, of course, are not from this area, and so many of us are not, what was it like to be in New Orleans during and after Hurricane Katrina, and how integral was service to getting New Orleans back on its feet? Well, of course, no one is better prepared to talk to us about that than Mary Matalin and James Carville. They're here with personal stories of service and moments that they can recall during this time of devastation, and they're going to help us understand how service can be a part of the national agenda and national dialogue, and how it can be elevated to basically help influence and prioritize a lot of the solutions that we see, hopefully, in this country today. So thank you guys for being here. This is so much fun. Mary and I were talking about our kids in the back room, in the back green room just now, so we were talking about everything but this, but I guess we should talk about service and being here in New Orleans. You both have actually moved back here. You've been here 3 years, you said. Now, you've lived as of today, right?
Today or tomorrow?
Yeah, I think it's tomorrow, but it's close enough for government work.
Close enough. Tell me, James, what it feels like now. I mean, you and Mary were sort of the face of this plea for help for New Orleans. So many of us saw you both on CNN and on various news outlets. What is it like in New Orleans today? 5 years,
yes.
Almost 6 years.
Right. You know, it's interesting you asked that, because Mary and I were talking this morning, and we were like, what in the hell were we doing 3 years ago? It was sort of touch and go. And I have to tell you, it is significantly better today than it's the progress that we've made in 3 years. We had the 5-year anniversary of the great engineering failure, 2005, on August 29th of this past 2010. And everybody came up to me and said the same thing. Can you believe where we are? Which meant that we were better off than anybody thought we'd be. Do we have a lot of problems still left? Is there plenty left to do? Absolutely. But if you sit back and you think of what's been done and what's been accomplished, it's really been remarkable here in New Orleans. And we're very, very happy. You know, my wife, when I asked her to marry me, and she said, only if we get married in New Orleans. She loved this place just as much as I did, although she wasn't a native of Louisiana. It's always been her favorite city. And our children are here, and it's a remarkable place. But what's really remarkable is to see how much people cared and how deep that New Orleans runs in the country, how much people care about it. I know my blood, when I tell you my blood is brown like that river. It's in me.
Your blood is brown.
I'm not a blue blood, I'm a brown blood.
Well, I think yours is probably too now, Mary. You said you made a conscious choice too. You wanted to raise your children here. But when you think back to where you were, I was talking to the cab driver when I was coming here today, and I said, well, you know, you've obviously made a lot of progress. And I said, well, where do you think it all came from? Was most of it sort of industry related, government related? And she said, oh, the volunteers. The volunteers made such an impact. Would you agree? Was it more volunteers than anything else?
I not only agree, it was only volunteers. There was a period of, Mayor Landrieu, I'm sure he's mentioned this, he said it this morning, it was anarchy immediately after Katrina, and help was, I don't want to relitigate all of that business, but when we first moved here, there was still a deeply organic, ongoing citizen activism that kept the city together. We are so blessed to have the leadership of Mayor Landrieu, who in a year's time has accelerated a quantum leap forward on the progress here, but it was citizens prior to that. All of this stuff requires leadership, but there's a network here. The people did the kind of service and volunteerism that you're familiar with, but you might not be familiar with how they organized themselves to go through the neighborhoods with trash bags and pick up the trash, to feed each other, to the most basic of necessities, those who were here in the early days. And it opened up, for many people, an entirely new perspective and avenue on life. You'll meet a lot of people in New Orleans who'll say, oh, I was a this or that before Katrina. I was a media maven. I was a corporate events planner. And now they're living the life they want to live in the city they want to live in the demolition diva, this woman who, after Katrina, this is one of the small business women Mitch was celebrating this morning. She was an events planner, and she said, I've got to save this city, and she started a demolition business. She has a pink pickup, no, she has a pink, what is that, honey? A cement truck and a, like giant heavy equipment. It's all pink and pink hard hats. And, you know, people just, they want to live here, and they wanted to do, they wanted to, as Mitch says all the time, we can't wait for people to do it for us. We're going to do it ourselves. And they've created the kind of service projects like St. Bernard Project, I'm sure you're all familiar with. And it's, yes, and she's a CNN hero, the woman who started that. And it's become not just the innovation of the laboratory of innovation, it's become an epicenter for service and volunteerism, and because it was so necessary.
But service from all walks of life, though, too. I mean, faith-based organizations, right?
Huge, huge. If you go in the Habitat for Humanity people, these churches come down, some of them come down every year. You know, it came from every kind of sector, and just a lot of people moved here to help. I mean, it wasn't like just part of something. They just sort of came and helped and contributed and did any number of things. And a number of young people that have flooded into this city is really remarkable. If I could make a point about our city, the difference between this place and every other place is every other place talks about the quality of life. And you said, well, we have a nice airport, or we have this many parks, or our schools are this, or we have this many hospital beds, or we have this many days of sunshine. And it's, in New Orleans, understand, we never, ever speak of quality of life. We only speak of way of life. Our way of life is our quality of life. We have our own food, our own music, our own funerals, our own architecture, our own body of literature, our own social structure, our own traditions. And that was why it wasn't just that we were about to lose a city, we were about to lose an entire way that we live. We don't choose, we choose to live. We're people who, the best way I've heard it put is, we're comfortable with our otherness. And we don't really aspire to have strip malls, and we don't really, it doesn't bother us that our streets are not as good because the oak trees and the low-lying thing kind of uproot them more than the other places. That's not what we're about. That's not what makes us who we are. And as long as we're able to live the life that we love on our terms, then we have the quality of life that we want. Our way of life is our quality of life, and I realized that very late in life, and that's why we had to come back here, because I can't, the idea that we would lose this, you see, these was really remarkable, and it was touch and go here for a while. It really was.
You appreciate it more. I heard the same thing from Wynton Marsalis. I came back here on assignment with Wynton Marsalis, who wanted to highlight his way of life, but also to show people that his city was going to rise again, and that they were going to have to, they would do it if they needed to do it.
Good example. Just when they did a thing where they raised money, the music that you heard, you saw these terrific young people. This is passed down, and the number of musical instruments that we lost as a result of the engineering failure was really remarkable. So they had people that came in and raised money to replace, so these children could have this. If we don't have these young musicians, then we're Atlanta, which is a great city. We're not New Orleans.
Hey, wait a second.
And these guys came in. They got a beautiful airport. They got nice freeways. It's a wonderful place. But it's not who we are. And they had to come in and bring and replace, if you think of all of the trumpets and the drums and the saxophones or whatever it was that were lost as a result of that. And these guys came in, raised a bunch of money, and replaced this. Because if you miss one generation, the whole thing goes.